This is the Roller Coaster Podcast, and I'm your host, Lucy Q. Life is a wild ride. It has twists and turns. It's scary, exciting, and downright fun. So throw your head back, arms in the air, and come along with me for the ride.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride.
A whopping 50 to 60% of people that set New Year's resolutions set intentions around weight loss and exercise, myself included. But we make the same resolutions year over year, which basically means that we set them and never achieve them. Again, myself included. What I've come to learn is that breaking a bad habit and creating new ones are more than just saying you're going to do something. It requires a shift in your mindset. Joining me today is Leslie David, author of You Can't Eat Love, to chat about how learning to love yourself can change your relationship with food. Welcome to the roller coaster, Leslie.
Well, thank you so much, Lucy. I'm so excited to actually get to talk with you because I listen to you all the time.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
So the topic of weight loss, the topic of, and I don't even like to categorize it as weight loss. I like to think of it more as becoming a healthier version of yourself, because numbers on a scale don't always tell the truth. And for myself, I've been trying to lose, or I correct myself. I've been saying I want to lose the same 60 pounds for I don't know how long. And it's only just recently that I realized that I had to fix a lot of things inside myself before I could even attempt to look at something like weight loss. So what has been your journey, and what was the catalyst for you writing You Can't Eat Love?
Well, about almost 7 years ago now, my oldest son and his wife decided they didn't want me to be a part of their life. And, that does happen. And I hit that, that proverbial rock bottom, and I realized I could go one of two ways. I could keep going in the way that I was going, or I could do something different. And I decided that, I took a really hard look at myself and decided that I wanted to be the very best version of myself that I possibly could be, so that I could live my very, very best life. And what I realized that included was, losing weight, but getting healthy mentally and emotionally, in addition to the physically part. Now, as you said, how many times do we set that intention? Here it is, it's New Year's Eve, it's coming up, and people, the question of the day is, what are your New Year's resolutions? And as you said, a lot of people say, I'm going to lose weight. Okay, but truth of the matter is, and this is what you obviously have discovered, losing weight is easy. It's keeping it off and moving forward that's hard. And what I discovered was 80% of the work that I did was in my head. And as I sorted out the noise inside my head and started addressing my emotions and quit running from what I felt, and started really asking myself a lot of questions, such as, what is really going on right now? It was that work that allowed me to set aside what I call my drug of choice, which was food. Because I realized as I did the work, as I cleared up the noise inside my head, that I'd been using food to kill the emotional pain, because I did not know how to deal with the emotions, and I did not want to deal with the emotions. And how many other people are like that? We don't want to feel sad because people tell us we shouldn't.
Well, it's I think many of us have that coping mechanism. Whether you call it a drug or you're numbing yourself, ultimately you're using something else to mask your emotions. And for me, mine hasn't been food necessarily. Mine was wine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but wine has calories in it.
Oh,
So
it does.
wine falls in the food category. We can pick up all kinds of things to cover up, or as you said, to cope with. And what I realized is I had spent so much of my life being told that I shouldn't feel this way, I shouldn't feel that way. Learning to deny what I was feeling, and it caused all kinds of tension inside of me. And as I say in the book, I had to learn how to name my emotions. And it wasn't that I didn't know the names of the emotions, because I did. I read a whole lot. I'm incredibly intelligent, I believe, but I didn't know how to name my emotions. And I didn't know how to sit in what I was feeling, anything from being happy to being sad. There's a broad spectrum of emotions. Because how many times have you felt happy and then you start feeling guilty? Oh, well, I'm feeling happy right now, but I know somebody who is very sad, and we start feeling guilty about feeling happy. Well, that's ridiculous. If we are happy, if we are enjoying this moment, if this moment is so amazing that we feel full of joy and happiness and we want to celebrate it. Because as I say over and over in the book, we can only control us. Everybody else has to do them. And that includes how we feel. So when we feel something, let's own it. Let's own it. And if somebody else isn't celebrating or whatever with us, you know what? That's on them. They're the people who are doing whatever they're doing. But let us own what it is we're feeling. Just as if we feel sad. If we're feeling sad, how many times has somebody said to you, well, you shouldn't feel that way, or you're feeling angry? You shouldn't feel that way. Well, you know what? How I feel is how I feel. Don't tell me how I'm feeling. This is how I am feeling. And at least give me the courtesy of honoring my feeling.
And I think the other thing that we do is, when it comes to naming emotions, is instead of even naming or acknowledging our emotions, we give the 4-letter F word. We say fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fine. Yeah. When really we're not. And again, I'm 100% guilty of this. I can remember numerous times where, my husband is very good at reading me, and he'd say, what's wrong? We're like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Because I didn't know how to communicate what I was feeling. I didn't know how to name those emotions. So what are some of the steps that you used or that you recommend in the book for people to start to engage those emotions and start to name them?
Well, the first thing that I did was I started, I don't like the word journaling. I just because, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I don't like the word, because I am never going to journal. But I have stacks of notebooks with handwriting in them, but I am never going to journal. But the first thing that I did was I started grabbing pen and paper and having a conversation with myself. Because what I realized is the first person that I needed to be honest with regarding how I felt was myself. Because there were so many times when I would talk myself out of feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling mad, feeling whatever. I'd talk myself out of it and I'd try and shove it down. Well, all that did was set off that, okay, I can't find the cookies inside the pantry, so I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to buy a bag of barbecue potato chips and onion dip, and then I'm going to eat all of it, and I'm going to bury everything in the trash can so nobody knows. So I started by being honest with myself, and that's what I say to people. First step, get honest with yourself. Tell yourself how you are really feeling, and then have the conversation with yourself about why you're feeling that way. Because even now, when I can feel myself starting to head off down that path, I'll say, wait a minute, hold on, what is really going on right now? And then I'll have a conversation with myself. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing that I started doing is I started saying, like to my husband, right now I am feeling sad. I don't need you to do anything about it. I'm simply informing you that right now I'm feeling sad, and this is why I'm feeling sad. And then, of course, he would try and fix it. And so I'd have to remind him, I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to listen to me. So it took a lot of courage to do that because I wasn't used to verbalizing my feelings. But I always qualified it for him, saying, I don't need you to do anything other than to listen to me. And then the third thing was when I catch myself doing that hunt in the pantry and the refrigerator. I'm sure you don't ever do that, where you're standing there and you know everything that's in there and you're looking for that one thing. When I catch myself, I'll say, okay, hold on. What is really going on right now? Because usually, that's a habit that we've built, is to do something to mask the pain. So as soon as I can take a breath, okay, what's really going on? And then sit and listen to what is really going on. And yes, we can listen to ourselves.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I've been through. I am a big advocate of, I don't necessarily call it journaling. I refer to it as journaling. I've been writing. That's just what I say. Like, yeah, I'm going to go write. That's just what I say. Because like you, I have a stack of notebooks with a whole bunch of handwriting in it. That is definitely the first way that we can begin to explore ourselves and explore what we're feeling. And for myself, it was somewhat slow at the beginning because, to reach that element of vulnerability, because now you're you don't want to admit it in your head, but now you're committing it to a piece of paper, God forbid that anybody come across it and read it. So it does take a bit of time, and you do need to give yourself some grace when whenever you're starting something new. But the more that you exercise that muscle of trying to tune into what you're actually feeling in the moment, it gets easier over time.
Right. And then you no longer are needing to grab for whatever it is that, or at least I stopped having to grab for whatever it was that I was using to numb the pain. And I was laughing at myself about a month or two ago. I was writing and having the conversation with myself. And I said, oh, I don't want to write that down. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Who are you trying to lie to? Who are you hiding it from? Because, truth of the matter is, I had this stack of notebooks with all this handwriting in it. And most of the time, I don't reread what I've written. I don't show it to anybody else. And I was thinking, well, when I'm gone, if my kids find this, well, they're just going to have confirmation their mother was crazy. And, that's okay. But I have the power. I do have the power. If I choose, I can trash them. I can burn them. I can shred them. I can do whatever the heck it is. But for right now, they're sitting in my closet, the stack of notebooks that I add to about every 2 months. But as I said, I was laughing to myself, who are you lying to? Who are you not going to tell the truth to? And so I was like, oh, yeah, right. Okay. So I went ahead and had the conversation that I didn't want to have, that I needed to have. And that's one of the things that I talk about at the beginning of the book, the lies we tell ourselves. Think about all the times that you lie to yourself. And the first person that we need to get clear and honest with is ourself. And the reason that we need to do that is then we can start taking apart, why do we have these coping mechanisms? What is going on that we developed these habits to protect ourselves?
Yeah, and sometimes those habits, we've had them so long, you can't even pinpoint when they started, why they started, and they're essentially a part of you. So to begin to unpack that and get past those habits, it can take a lot. It can take a lot of self-exploration. And, we can also fall into the trap of beating ourselves up for our past mistakes or our past decisions. And that's really where the element of self-love comes in.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things that I discovered early on was when I would do something, no matter how small it was, if I would, successfully do something, it didn't make any difference if my success was that I did not pick up the double king size pack of Reese's peanut butter cups on my way out of the grocery store. I would celebrate that, because what I started recognizing is our brain wants to be happy. And the easiest way to change a habit, to move into something new, is to celebrate. Okay. I mean, think about it. If we're teaching a child how to ride a bike, what are we doing? Yes, you pedaled 2 pedals and you didn't fall off, and oh, that is so amazing. Okay, apply the same principle to yourself. And one of the chapters in the book is we give stars to kindergartners. We do that for a reason. We want to reinforce behavior. We want to build a habit. But the easiest way as adults to build habits is to celebrate the tiny little wins. And people think I'm crazy, but you know what? It works, because we're driving a car down a very muddy road. And because we've been driving down this road so long, so many times, that it almost drives itself. Well, now we're trying to make new ruts in the road, and it's easy to fall off into the old ruts. Well, the way that we make the new ruts is we keep going, and we do it slowly and little by little. And what do we do when we make it to the end of that muddy road? We celebrate. Yes. So I encourage people, figure out what it is that you're trying to do. Okay, let's say this week, all right, you set your intention for the year. I want to lose X pounds. Okay, that's fine. But what I suggest that you do, instead of focusing on the weight that you want to lose, say, okay, this week I'm going to walk 5 minutes 3 times. You're not saying that I'm walking 5 minutes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're just saying I'm going to walk 5 minutes 3 times, period, end of discussion. So the first time that you walk 5 minutes, celebrate. Yes. And in fact, I would say, when you write down your intention of walking 5 minutes 3 times, you write down how you're going to celebrate. Be that a cheer, be that, tell Alexa to play your favorite song, whatever, plan a celebration. So then you walk the first day 5 minutes, celebrate. Yes, I did it. Look at me. Look at me. The second day you do it, you do the same thing again. The third day you do it, you celebrate again, and you read, this is what I'm doing. I'm celebrating like this. So that when it gets hard, you're not focusing on the struggle, you're focusing on the reward. Because if we focus on the struggle, we're going to give up. But if we say, something, when I finish walking 5 minutes 3 times this week, this is my reward, and do not make it a food reward.
I was going to say, yeah, maybe get a mani or a pedi, but don't eat that cake.
Right. Celebrate with a mani or a pedi. I want to say one of my first rewards was a new lipstick. And I got a crazy red color. I've done everything, from telling myself, okay, I could go get a Starbucks coffee, to getting, a new top, crazy socks, things like that. Just, a little something, so that you're acknowledging what you're doing. And when you're struggling to accomplish whatever it is, don't say to yourself, oh, I just can't do it. Instead, say, you know what? When I finish this task, I am going to celebrate with whatever. and focus on the celebration. Don't focus on the struggle.
And going back to your analogy of driving down that muddy road and trying to create the new ruts. And, I think that's one of the reasons why people give up on whatever New Year's resolution they set, is because the first day they fail or they don't
Right.
do what they say they're going to do, they throw their arms up and they give up. But they forget that each day is a new day. The same way that when you're driving down that muddy road, if you fall back into the old ruts, you don't just sit there and go, oh, well, that's it. Guess I'm going to stay here. No, you get back on track and you keep going forward. And I think that's one of the things that, we need to get better at, is giving ourselves the grace for when, we do fall back into the ruts. It's okay. We're human. We're not supposed to be perfect. You pick yourself up and you get back on track. And each day gives us the ability to do just that.
Well, and for me, a giant aha was forgive myself when I did make a mistake, or when I made a choice that I had not intended to make originally. Forgive myself. If I went to a party and I ended up eating way more than I thought that I had planned to eat before I ever got to the party, on my way home, I would say, you know what? I'm really proud of you. Look what you did. This is something, that you wouldn't have done in the past. And I'm forgiving you for making the choice to have 2 slices of cake instead of just the one that you had intended. And the best thing that I talk to people about is, once I forgive myself, I leave it. I'm done with it. I don't keep picking it up. I don't beat myself up. And you were saying, each day is a new day. I'm going to challenge you on that. I'm going to tell you that each minute is a new minute, because we can do something. We make a choice. It's either a good choice, a great choice, or a not so good choice. But you know what? We don't have to sit in that choice. We can say, okay, I made a not so great choice. Next time, this is what I'm going to do. I learned this from that experience. I'm forgiving myself. I'm moving on. And the benefit to doing that is we don't end up throwing up our hands and saying, you know what, I totally blew it. I quit. I'm a failure, and all that kind of stuff. And I use the analogy in the book of traffic jams, because almost all of us have gotten stuck in traffic. And when you get stuck in traffic, do you park your car, get out, and walk home? No. Think about the things that you do until the traffic is moving again. Well, life, here's a secret. Life is loaded with traffic jams. And so what we need to do is figure out, how are we going to handle the traffic jam? What is our plan? And let's start planning ahead. Is it going to be perfectly executed? No, but you know what? We're going to have a plan. And we're not going to park our car, and we're not going to get out, and we are not going to walk home.
And I think it's easy for our brains to default to getting stuck on those one little slip ups that we do.
Right.
Instead of focusing on everything that we do right. And that's one of the things that I try and do, is that, I may start off my day with the best of intentions. I exercise, I meditate, I do my writing, I, have my protein shake, I take all of my vitamins, but then something may go sideways by the end of the day. And instead of eating, a more nutritious meal, I may end up having a couple of slices of pizza. But we get fixated on those 2 pieces of pizza instead of realizing, well, I spent the other 10 hours I've been awake doing nothing but really, really good things for myself. But then we just focus on that one thing. So I think it's also important that, when we do fall back into those ruts, is to take that pause and to look at, well, wait a second, look at all that I have done instead of what I haven't done.
And it goes back, what happens when we're growing up, because a lot of this has to do with, what we were taught when we were growing up, because there's so much correction and pointing out of the mistakes that you make and things like that. And truthfully, if we will ignore a mistake and celebrate a win, we actually end up moving forward a whole lot faster. So like you just said, you spent 10 hours living an amazing life, and then you had 2 pieces of pizza, which probably took you 20, 30 minutes tops to eat, right? Instead of focusing on those 2 pieces of pizza, you say, you know what? This is what was going on. I had the 2 pieces of pizza. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm moving on, because something, the rest of the day, these were the things that I did that were so amazing. And I am so proud of myself for all of those choices. And so we affirm what we're doing well and ignore what we don't want to continue.
Definitely. Now, as we wrap up here, Leslie, do you have any final words of wisdoms or final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, the main thing that I would like to share is you are enough, just as you are right now. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You are enough. And if you don't believe it, I will believe it for you until you believe it for yourself.
And where is the best place for people to connect with you and grab a copy of your book?
The best place to find out everything is on the website, which is youcan'teatlove.com. And there you can find out all about me and the links to buy the book.
To connect with Leslie, make sure you check out the show notes. I will have all of the links in there. And Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, Lucy, thank you so much. This is so much fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Roller Coaster Podcast. Want to chat or share your ideas about today's show? Pop me an email at hello@therollercoasterpodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at The Roller Coaster Podcast. Our theme song, Roller Coaster, was performed by The Lucky Setback. Audio editing by the one and only Jeff Quigley of Quigley Creative.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Roller coaster.